Truelove to say a few words, and we should be getting underway hopefully in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Sir.
Thanks, Pascal. Can you hear me in the back? Hands up. Lyle, I think you're way back there. Yeah, great. Well, good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue à bord. Welcome aboard Winnipeg. And I can tell you I'm pretty excited because they never let me go to sea. So I'm privileged to be here with you. You know, Pascal just mentioned the ship, and I'm not going to talk about the ship because I think there's probably about 230, 240 of Canada's greatest ambassadors on board the ship today who are excited to tell you about their ship. But what I'd like to do really quickly is maybe put it in context. And it's hard to do in the hangar, but can I get everyone just to turn around and look out? So when I look out, and I see this great city of Vancouver, but then I dial in, and I see a tanker, and I see cranes, and I see TEUs on the far side, and it reminds me again that Canada is a maritime nation. All right, we just enjoyed some muffins and coffee and all kinds of stuff, and I'm going to tell you that probably a lot of that arrived here on those tanker ships that are sitting out in English Bay. And I always count as I fly in, it's range about a dozen. There's all kinds alongside the jetties, because this port of Vancouver is all about maritime commerce. And you see, in fact, most of you who live here probably don't even see the ships. They're just oblivious to you. They're there, they come and they go, and it's just what happens. But I would ask all of you here today, who represent a broad range of industry and other entities in the province, to think about what you do. And I would suggest you don't need to scratch very far before you realize that your enterprise, whatever it is directly linked to the seas. And you depend on the ocean highways being open, uninterrupted, to allow your businesses to do what they do. And I would ask you to stop and think just for a second, what if one of those little friction points that we're all seeing around the world, particularly here in the Asia Pacific region, what if one of them went the wrong way and all those ships stopped coming back and forth to Canada? What would be the implications on you, both in your household, in your industry, in your business? And I say that to remind that we rely on the seas. And BC is a maritime province, it's a Pacific province, its futures are very much linked to the seas. So what? Well, I like to think that being a maritime nation who puts great reliance on the seas means that you have a vested interest in being able to make sure that those sea lanes remain open. And I'm here to tell you that that's what your Navy does for you. We are out there on the oceans, and in part through that presence, but more importantly in that responsive posture when directed by government to go anywhere in the world to do what you, through government, tell us to do. And of course, as we get ready to go to sea today, we think about HMCS Regina, one of your frigates, and I say that intentionally, your frigates in the Persian Gulf. Actually now in the Eastern Mediterranean, because on a moment's notice, the world situation changed, and government made decisions, and that rolled to me, to HMCS Regina, and within a very brief period of time, we turned her mission around, put her through the canal, and she's now operating in the Eastern Mediterranean, flying that Canadian flag. So, welcome aboard Winnipeg. Your homework assignment, because there's no free lunch. There's no free lunch, all right? I would encourage each and every one of you today to take an opportunity to meet a sailor. And ask that sailor, where are you from? Why did you join the Navy? Where have you been? What's been your experience? What motivates you to do this voluntarily for your nation with full understanding, as we all do in uniform, of unlimited liability? Which in our words means that we will go anywhere in the world and serve, and we understand that in the worst case scenario, we will give our lives for our nations, and we do that voluntarily. And each and every one of these sailors probably has a family supporting them. The strength behind our uniform. So I would encourage you to ask a bit about their family. And how does their family handle them being away for 6 and 8 months at a time? And that kind of rolls off the tongue really easy, but that's a lot of birthdays, anniversaries, sickness, and a whole lot of things. Broken down cars, backed up sewers, and all the things that my wife reminds me all the time that she dealt with while I was off wherever I was doing the business. My IOU list is very long, and I'm trying to tick it off one at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really thrilled that you took the time to join us here today, and I pledge to you that we will do our best to expose you as much as we can to your Navy today, to enable you to go back out into the communities that you participate in, and perhaps help us tell our story don't think Canadians fully understand what their Navy does. We call it maritime blindness, and we're not alone. My last short vignette before I shut up here is I recently had the great privilege of hosting the British First Sea Lord for dinner at the house in Victoria. And we got on to the conversation of maritime blindness, and I looked at him and said, "Sir, that's probably not something that you in England really have to deal with, being an island and all." And he cut me off and he said, "No, it's my biggest challenge, that the citizenry have lost sight of what our Navy does and why it's important." So I hope that you'll be able to help me tell that story to Canadians, that we are very much reliant on the seas, and our Navy plays a key role in that. So with that, I'm going to stop. I think the coxswain is next up. Chief Officer is going to come up and give you a bit of a safety brief, because everything we do on board, first priority is always safety, and this is a moving platform once we get out of the way. And so Chief Officer will tell you about that, and he'll tell you a bit more about the program. So again, welcome aboard. I look forward to meeting many of you over the course of the day, and we'll come back together to check on your homework at the end of the day. Thanks very much. Enjoy.